Welcome to the Man United stream. Hope you're doing well. We've got a special show for you today, a show that's been requested by many subscribers, many viewers who have been asking me to do this show, and it's all about the takeover and what actually has happened and what are we doing right now at Man United. What's going on with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, that 25% he was going to take over. What is going on? I will explain everything in today's show, bring you up to speed with what happened with Sheikh Yassim and Ratcliffe taking that 25% of Man United and where that leaves the Glazers in the whole scheme of things. But before we kick off today's show, please hit that like button on this video so it gets pushed out to many more fans. And if you're new to the Man United stream channel, please go ahead and subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and opinions. Okay, so let's start answering some of these questions by many Manchester United fans who are concerned about the takeover and what is actually going on. There has been lots and lots of misinformation out there on social media and in other sources, just simply spewing out crap about what's going on with the takeover. Some sources are in fact still reporting that Sheikh Yassim is preparing his final bid to take over at Man United and is still not left the process. He's still there and he's still going to take over at Man United. Now that unfortunately is an absolute lie. He is not within the process. He has left the process, and we've had several reputable sources confirm that he has left the process and he will not be coming back in again and buying Manchester United. So that is our first question answered. Sheikh Yassim is no longer in the process of buying Manchester United. He has withdrawn himself and does not look like he's coming back in with any final offer. Once a party leaves this kind of process, they do not normally come back straight in again. It is very complex. There's lots of paperwork involved, and I very much doubt Sheikh Yassim will come back to the table and try and negotiate a new deal with the Glazers. Now, another question we've had from a concerned viewer is Ratcliffe even rich? Has he got the money to go in there and invest in Man United? And has he got the money to actually sustain what Manchester United plans for the future? And the simple answer to that question is yes, Ratcliffe is rich. He's one of Britain's richest men, and he is part of the Ineos group that is worth billions and billions of pounds. Now, Ratcliffe is set to take over 25% of Man United. Now, he did originally come in to buy the whole of Man United, or a majority stake within Manchester United, taking over the Glazers. However, since being in this process, he has now altered his offer to the Glazers and put this 25% offer forward to the Glazers. Now, we are hearing from sources that it's not because Ratcliffe did not want to take over the Glazers and take over a majority stake of Man United. In fact, he made his bid and moved everything around, restructured his bid because he found out that the Glazers were not prepared to sell the whole of Man United and still wanted to be in control. That's why Ratcliffe went back to the drawing board. Unlike Sheikh Yassim, who refused to work with the Glazers and left the process, Ratcliffe went back to the drawing board and thought, right, okay, how do I get my foot through the door? And that's when he restructured his bid for 25% of Man United and then came back in again and offered that to the Glazers. And we are hearing that the Glazers are looking to accept that offer for 25%. I think it's worth around 1.4 to 1.5 billion pounds that the Glazers will get if they sell that 25% stake of Man United to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Now, another question we've had is how long will Ratcliffe be the owner of Man United given his age? Now, that's a fair question. There are some concerns over his age and concerns over this takeover process and how long it will take. Now, we do know that Ratcliffe isn't personally taking over Man United. It's in fact the Ineos group, a group that he's set up. So in a situation where there's no Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, I presume, will continue as owners of Man United. Now, another question we've had is, will the Glazers ever leave? Now, lots and lots of fans have asked that, and the Glazers know this, and this is why they did not sell to Sheikh Yassim, did not want to sell the 100% of the club, because they feel in the coming years they will make lots more money from Man United, and I don't doubt that. They will continue making money from Man United. We all know this. We all know as fans that Manchester United will continue to make the Glazers money, and they'll continue to stay here as long as the club makes them money. Now, another question we've been asked is, what would be your preferred owner of Man United? Now, for me and the team behind the scenes, we all agreed that there's no single person out there who's the perfect owner for Man United. It would have been better if we had several different entities owning Man United, all holding each other to account when it came to Man United. The fact that we've got one family or one person running the club is never good, because no one can hold them accountable to what they're doing, how they're spending the money, what they're doing with the players, what they're doing with the manager. But when you have several different entities all working on the same project, they can oversee each other, making sure no one person makes a completely ridiculous decision at the club. And I think that's the problem with the Glazers. We've had the Glazers sat here for 18 years making ridiculous decision after ridiculous decision, spending money when they shouldn't have been spending money, wasting money away at the club, and not actually investing properly in the infrastructure of the club. Now, if we had other parties involved in the ownership of the club, I think they would have held the Glazers to account, making sure that they're not wasting away their money and not taking dividends out of the club as they have done. Now, there's lots of different ownership models out there in football, but Man United is not just a club. That's the problem. Man United is something bigger than any football club that you get out there. It is different. You know it's different, and you Man United fans all know that it's different. We know that we belong to something more than just a football club. This is something bigger, and that's why it's really difficult to find the perfect owner for Man United. I personally think that Man United should be owned by lots of different parties, all concerned with one thing, and that is the success of Man United as a football club. But that is one of my favourite questions that's been asked. What do you think? Who would be the perfect owner for Man United? If you could pick anybody out there, who would you pick? Would it be Elon Musk? Would it be Jeff Bezos of Amazon? Or would it be anybody else? Would it even be Sheikh Yassim? Let us know. Drop your comments below. That's a really, really good question to answer. Who would be your preferred owner of Man United? If you could pick someone right now and have the Glazers out, who would you have? Okay, so moving on to the next question we've had, which is there a danger that this is it? The 25% that Ratcliffe is buying, is that it? If he only gets that and nothing more. Now, there is a real danger that this actually could happen, where Ratcliffe just simply has 25% of the club, and that's how it stays forever. Now, we need to wait and see what the contract and the agreement says between the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. If there isn't a clause within that agreement that says that the Glazers have to sell to Sir Jim Ratcliffe the remaining shares, well, in that case, the Glazers are here and set to stay for a long, long time. Now, another question we've had from many fans is, will Ratcliffe actually have any power at Man United with that 25%? Now, that's a really good question as well. It all depends on the agreement. Again, we need to wait and see what the agreement says between the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. In that agreement, does he get any power with that 25%? Does he have any decision-making power, or does it rest with Joel and Avram Glazer and the rest of the Glazers? Now, what we heard early on when Sheikh Yassim did drop out of the process is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will have control over all footballing decisions. But since then, we've had reports debunking this, saying that Joel Glazer, in fact, will have the final say on everything and anything to do with Man United. Another question we've had is, why would Sir Jim invest in only 25% and not look to buy the remaining shares of the Glazers? He is a businessman and will be looking to buy the rest of the shares. Now, that is a really good question. Why would Sir Jim only buy 25% and not look to buy the remaining shares of the Glazers in time to come? Now, that all depends on the Glazers. We've all realised that the Glazers do not want to leave and do not want to sell the remaining shares that they have. Now, they've opted to give Sir Jim 25% ownership of Man United, and I think that might be it. Sir Jim might be looking at this and thinking, right, okay, I can't buy the whole of United, but at least I can buy 25%, and as a business perspective, he might even be looking at that 25% and thinking, right, I will make money on this. The £1.5 billion or £1.4 billion that he's going to invest in Man United might actually be a really good investment, even for that 25%. So if he's looking at it from simply commercial business point of view, that is a decent investment. Right now, he believes that Man United will go on to be valued a lot more than what he's valued it at £6 billion. And we agree. we all agree that Man United in the coming years probably will be worth in the region of £10 billion. And we fans have seen this, because even with Man United not doing well on the pitch, not performing, not qualifying for the Champions League in some seasons, are still commercially a really attractive proposition for lots of companies out there, lots of sponsors who all want to work with Man United because of the name. And I think that will continue no matter what happens on the pitch. Man United will still continue to attract big contracts and big sponsors. Okay, so the final question we have is a really good question, which is, will the Glazers ever leave? Because the business model that they have right now works really well for them. Fans cannot walk away from Man United, and there's no other business like this. Now that's a very good question or statement made there, because that is true. Man United fans cannot walk away from the club, and the Glazers know this. So no matter what happens, the Glazers always have their customers always there. For the Glazers, this is a unique business. It's a business that they can give crap service in, not invest anything in, but the customers will keep on returning no matter what. The customers will not walk away. Customers, in their eyes, obviously we're all fans, we don't see the club as a business, we see it as a football club, and that's it. But I'm talking from the Glazers' point of view. The Glazers don't see it as a club, they see it as a business, and the Glazers don't see the fans as fans, they see them as customers. And that is what we have. We have owners who know that these customers cannot walk away. They are not financially tied, they're emotionally tied up into the club, and they can never walk away. There's generations and generations who've supported this club, whether it's your father, whether it's your children now that go on to support the same club, and the Glazers are fully aware of this. They know that no matter what, these customers, these fans will not leave Man United. They will not go and start supporting Man City over the road, or go over and start supporting Newcastle or Arsenal. That's not how it works. You stick with your club for life no matter what, through thick and thin. And the Glazers, unfortunately, are taking us all for a ride, and they will not leave, knowing that they keep on making money. So what is the answer? No one really knows. Okay, so coming back to the takeover and what's happening right now, well, we are all waiting to see whether that offer by Sir Jim for 25% of Man United will be accepted by the Glazers and the board. If that is accepted, Sir Jim will become 25% owner of Man United, and then we'll see if he has any power over footballing matters at the club and generally over Man United as a club. If he does, that's good news. And then the biggest question of all is whether he has a clause in there to buy out the Glazers in the coming future. If he does not, then we're back to square one again. And if Ratcliffe, with that 25%, does not have the voting rights going forward that outweigh the Glazers, well, then nothing really will change. The Glazers will remain in control of Man United and will have the power to veto every decision that is made by the board and by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Now, we're hoping that isn't the case, but only time will tell. We'll bring you further developments on this and more as and when we get them, so please hit that subscribe button on this video so you can keep up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and opinions. You are watching the Man United Stream channel by the fans for the fans.